What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Freaks, a new movie on Netflix, independent movie, sci-fi, and there's another descriptor of this movie that's also kind of a spoiler. Because this movie, first off, is awesome. You should definitely go check it out, and you should watch it before listening to anything about it. Don't watch the trailers. Don't read this thing. Just watch it. It is a good movie. A great low-budget movie. Like, sometimes low-budget movies, independent films, can be hit or miss, especially if they are kind of high concept or, like sci-fi or it's there. To be clear, there has been some pretty great ones. Like Moon was pretty amazing, but very very empty that movie is. Where Freaks is very creepy. Starting off, you're basically following this girl. This little girl. She's like 7 years old, and she lives with her dad. And they're just scared of the outside world. They don't really explain a whole lot. You kind of, as the movie progresses, you learn more and more about the reality of the situation. But how it starts out is so creepy and so scary, where it's almost like the movie Room, where there's the mom and child that's been kidnapped and put into a room, which is a crazy movie. Kind of starts out like that. Like, you don't know why they're shut in. They've clearly been there a long time. Almost like the house is covered in paper and drawings, and clearly looks like almost like a meth head or a crackhead house kind of thing, where they're paranoid and scared of the evildoers outside. So it kind of gives you that vibe. The girl's told not to go outside. It's very important that she doesn't go outside. But there's this ice cream truck that comes by, and she just wants some ice cream. And they're kind of going through, the mom, the dad, and the kid are going through kind of her story. Like, my name is this. I was born here. My favorite sports are this. My favorite foods are this. This is my sister's name. She's into this stuff. This is my mom's name. She's very beautiful. This is what she's like. And like kind of going through just all of the points of her story, which you don't know. It's like, is she doing that because there's a memory thing? Is she doing that because you don't know, is there been a fallout? Is this part of the coronavirus quarantine? I don't know. You don't know. And then there's a scene where she like goes outside, which is like, whoa, crazy. And she meets like the ice cream truck guy, and it's like creepy pedophile thing. It's just super creepy, super weird. And it's like, I had these opinions about every single character, and they were all negative opinions. It's like, the dad is like kind of an asshole, because it's like, you don't know if like he's doing this. I didn't really believe he was doing it to like protect his daughter. It felt like, he has mental problems from drugs or whatever. And then this ice cream truck dude is like super pedo, like just creepy as fuck. But then by the end of the movie, like as you find out what this movie is about and the premise of this movie, which go watch this movie. But when it turns and you find out it's almost like aliens, or they're like evolved people, or it's like a different type of person. Like, they look like humans, but they have superpowers. So it's almost like X-Men type stuff. But it's done in a really interesting way. It doesn't have that comic book feel. I could see this being a comic book, which it's not. It was just written and directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein. There's a great interview with the writer-directors on Culturally Relevant with David Chen. Just watched Ugly Delicious, so I'm all screwed up on the Asian names. But David Chen from the Slash Filmcast also does the Culturally Relevant podcast, and he had the writer-directors of this movie on the podcast, and they described how they had heard a talk done by one of the Duplass brothers on how filmmakers and writers should write for what they're able to do. Like, don't write as if you're going to get picked up by a big studio and given a bunch of money. Like, see what you have around you. What are your tools that you currently have access to, either personally or through friends, or like what can you scrounge together and write a movie that you can make using those tools. So like, don't write out. So that's how these two guys kind of wrote. Like, initially they're like, if we don't get any funding, like, they were going to play the main characters and they were going to use like a relative as the kid. And luckily, once they already had the script made and they had the release date and like every distribution was already set, like the fact that they had that already intact, people who read the script were more likely to get into it because it's like, oh, it's actually going to happen. It's not like most movies that just fall apart. So anyway, go listen to that interview. It's an amazing interview. But it's one of those stories about making movies where these guys just kind of do it from scratch. There's a lot of stories like that too. Primer is a perfect example about a guy who used ingenuity to come up with just an amazing, super interesting sci-fi premise. So very similar in a lot of ways to that movie as far as just the origins of it. Although that movie Primer does not have like bigger stars. Like, this has Emil Hirsch, Bruce Dern are the two main actors, and then the kid is Grace Park. But I really enjoyed this movie, and when you find out that they have these powers, you see that it's almost like a District 9 kind of a thing where there's this big lockdown. They're quarantining all of these people who, the freaks is kind of the derogatory term that they use for anybody that has these powers. The politically correct is abnormals, I believe, something like that, something to that effect. And they're trying to round them up and put them all in cages, because that's what the government likes to do a lot of times. And it's just a really great movie. And when I went into it, I didn't know anything about it. And as I watched it, I had all these creepy, I just felt bad watching this movie, right? I feel bad for this girl who's like being trapped by her dad in this like horrible situation. And then she finally gets out and she's like, this other guy is like making up this story so he can take her in his ice cream truck. But then you find out what the story is actually about, and it's like, holy shit. There's even a moment of like comedic relief towards the end. Like, tonally, this movie goes from like creepy as fuck to badass. Like, I'm rooting for every single one of these characters. Like, all these people that I thought were horrible people, I'm now rooting for everybody. It's like it went from The Room, not was it Room? Not the worst movie, Room. The one with the chick and her son held captive, Room. It went from that movie and turned into like an Avengers movie, in a way, not like big production value kind of stuff, but like it tonally is still like everything. I don't know. Everything was great about this movie. I really enjoyed it. It was a really big surprise. Highly recommend now that everybody's in quarantine. Go check it out on Netflix. Very, very accessible, but a very popular movie as well. And I love a movie that can make me feel different things, and my opinion changes towards the end of it. It's just like you go on like an emotional ride where you take a turn. Like, they can somehow, these people that were the worst people ever, like there's a turn, and everything put into context makes them completely different people. And this movie's just great at doing that. So check out Freaks on Netflix. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork over at inspireddisorder.com and save 25% when you use coupon code RTS. Follow me on social media at Ray Taylor. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.